Hi everyone, I'm Susan, here for our next Tuesday Shelf Talk. Today I'll be talking about Stuart Turton's The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. We hold copies of this book in regular print, as well as e-book and e-audio book through Belinda Borrowbox. The genre for it has been described as Gosford Park meets Groundhog Day by way of Agatha Christie, or perhaps Downton Abbey meets Memento is another way to describe it. The tag quote on the cover is, "This book blew my mind, utterly original and unique," from the Hercule Poirot writer Sophie Hannah, which really describes how I feel about it too. So, the story is that the protagonist wakes up and he relives the same day every day, a day that ends with a murder. His task is to solve the murder, which doesn't look like a murder, and he can escape the time loop that he's stuck in. So each day he wakes up in the body of a different house guest, but he only gets 8 attempts before his time is up and he has to start all over again. I had heard vaguely that this was a good book before I picked it up, but I hadn't heard much about the story. So when the book passed me by, I decided to have a read and see what it was like. And then I had to drop everything else to finish it because it dragged me in immediately. The plot itself is very complex and I think really quite amazing. It goes through the same events each day, but from different perspectives and trying to solve that mystery that's at the heart of the story. Every character in the book has their secrets, but it's not clear which of these secrets are relevant to unravelling the solution. The setting is of a crumbling English country house, and it's really brought to vivid life within this story. And the time seems to be around the 1920s, so there's references to the war having recently finished. Motor cars are in use, but they're not really widely used. People still tend to prefer horse and carriage and so on. The story really barrels along very quickly. At first it's quite confusing. There's a lot of different characters to get to grips with. I found myself referring to the character list at the beginning of the story quite often for the first quarter or so of reading. But I suppose my confusion in this mirrored that of the main character, because he has woken up with no memory of himself or where he is or what he's supposed to be doing. His initial task is to work out what's going on, and so we follow along with his discoveries. I really enjoyed a lot of the language that used in this book. A couple of my favourite quotes include, "It's like I've been asked to dig a hole with a shovel made of sparrows, and the hunt begins in half an hour and I can't miss it. I have too many questions and most of the answers will be carrying shotguns." There is a warning for you though. There are some thriller type scenes in the book with somewhat gory descriptions, and there's also a section in there which has some quite negative fat shaming descriptions, which is a bit off-putting. So being that the nature of the story includes time travel and that the main character lives the day over and over again, you do need to be willing to suspend your disbelief about how that could be managed in order to enjoy the story. But if you don't mind a bit of a light science fiction and enjoy a dark and twisty mystery, then you can probably get into this one. An interesting theme that's repeated is a motif around hell and the devil, and around how no one, no matter how reprehensible they may seem, is really truly evil. The main character inhabits the bodies of a number of really quite unpleasant people, and he finds himself swayed in his reactions and approaches by their personalities, but in the end we can see that everyone has some good qualities and that they always have the possibility of redemption. I have to say I really like the cover design of the book as well, so that Art Deco styling, and then there's some subtle references there to key items within the story. It's really a very good fit, so you can judge the book by this cover. So if you enjoy a good mystery like those from Sherlock Holmes or from Agatha Christie, or really any complex locked room style mysteries, then this story is well worth your time. Similarly, if you enjoy the complexity and slow unravelling of perhaps seemingly disconnected clues, maybe out of sequence with time, that you might see in films like Inception or Memento, then I think you'll like this book too. So that's The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week for another Tuesday Shelf Talk. Bye!